Hi, hello, good evening, afternoon, morning, whatever, whenever. Sorry, I'm like, excuse me? Okay, it's fine. The fan is on. I hope it's not too distracting. I was gonna check, but I'm not gonna turn it off. So if it is, then this may not be the one for you. Yeah, so we're just gonna hop into it. I I feel like I'm in such an interesting sort of position. It's because it's like I have a lot. I have the rest of my decks for the most part, right? Besides the ones that have gone on, um, and so it's like all of the energies of certain cards and stuff. A lot of them I have access to, but then it's like, yeah, but like if we kind of already read it, then like, what's the point? Does it warrant further exploration? Question mark. And then part of me goes, sure. Another part of me is like, and we're here today. So, no. Excuse me. I guess, sure, why not? I think there's a part of me sometimes that's like, whatever. But then also at the same time, you know? So I have the Lafruma again. I'm going to look before and after Igashalmer. Will Shield as the like will shield, right? Because there was the Anwilla as will sort of in general, and then there was the Igashalmer, which was an application of will um, that is, I guess you could say, defensive in nature, right? Or excuse me, resistive. And then I have the Runic Tarot and the Brian Shroud's Fairy Oracle, the Fairies Oracle. So I don't think I'm gonna do any significators besides Aga Shalmer. I think I'm just gonna flip or fall the other one. So let's get into it. Bottom of the deck is man, myself, humankind, which is kind of like a bard gateway, right? At the cut with Earth Masion, thy earthly power. Sure. I've already shuffled these before I went live. Earth Masion and Thorn. Um, but before I went live. Oh look, and then Thorn and Unwilla. It's willful resistance, right? Yeah, willful resistance with that giant thorny portal. I kind of love it. Yeah, man. What was after that? Man, Earth Mason, um, Earth Crystal. Excuse me. Excuse me. Ooh. So Sun Life Force and Wordhammer came out. Weirdness the All Room. With Towardness the Future under that. Interesting. Especially these two. Excuse me. That's not how I'm doing it tonight, but hopefully you find what you need. Let's see. Hang true. Okay. I'm gonna put this back. All right. Oh, I guess I could have kept it. All right, it's fine. I'm looking for before and after wheel shield Eigenschalmer. All right, and I'll do one more. That was two. And okay. Bottom of the deck is Leaf, Unfurl, with Thorn, Giant Portal, and Gare, Spirit Trove. Sense that are almost Solstice Ref right came out with that. Excuse me. The energy that's coming out with this is so interesting, especially because we're looking for the wheel shield. Okay. I'm pretty sure I know what it looks like. It's like yellow, and I feel like there are blues on it. I mean, to be fair, I have seen it recently. Maybe yesterday when I was shuffling the deck. I think I mentioned it, right? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Interesting. So, Treadle 31, Tread Soul Prince, Iga Shalmer, Helm of Awe, Wheel Shield, and then Owl Senses. Interesting. Oh, Onwell is like right there. Cool. Yeah. Huh? 1 second. Okay. Excuse me. Anyway, all right. Interesting. Okay. Are we? Is this? So Eigenshammer wheel shield, and it's interesting because I didn't clock it yesterday when the Kindred came out, the Norse compass that was on the moon. There's something about Treadle and Ool, Treadle or Ool Treadle, that it's like footsteps that it's almost like you'd have to have night vision to see. So it could be a path unseen, right? Yeah, I did unmute it. Okay. Maybe, okay. I almost wish so with the future. And even with word Hamer, there was a certain like bardness. Right? What did I say? The bard. I don't think I said the bard path. And so it's almost like this spear energy with this thorn portal. It's like if you had interlocking spears that blocked that portal, right? And so you would think that it's impassable, but it's almost like people sort of come and go. But you can't see how. Not you. I'm looking at numbers now. This is 33, right? I mean it might be. I don't know. The numbers are not consistently placed. But I think Garrett's 33. Yeah, it is. 333 between Thorn Giant Portal and Gare. And this is because this is Ool, and because Ool specifically talks about the senses, because it's almost like you could read it as the energy of like moving in silence. But I feel like if it was about moving in silence, then maybe we would have seen the card of like night or a card of shadows or something like that. But because this is about the senses, it's about like it's moving in ways that can't be perceived. Now, this coming up with Eigenschalmer as a standalone is interesting. But as it fits sort of the energy that peaked out, it makes sense. And I guess you could say low hanging fruit, maybe not even necessarily. Low hanging fruit, not necessarily what we're going for, but we'll see. I guess if we see something like Sylvania's Mask of Truth, maybe. But it's almost like an energy of somebody being watched like a hawk, right? Some giant portal has unfurled before someone, and with that spirit trove, for some reason, it's given the energy of like being watched and being observed. But it's like you move imperceptibly. So even if you're watched and observed, like people still wouldn't see what you're doing. Or anyone who is watching or observing for the sake of like replication or trying to gain access to something that they don't have access to, they wouldn't be able to perceive it. It's almost like, let's say you have two people, right, who are managers, low hanging fruit. You have two managers, one of them that is like well loved by everybody, and another one who can't understand why they have the same position as somebody else, but they don't get the same respect and adoration as the other person. And so it's like they're watching the other manager to see like why people like them so much or whatever, and they can't figure it out. And it's like that maybe the other manager's like genuinely like a nice person, and they step up and they help out whenever it's needed, and they treat people like people and not like numbers or cogs or whatever. But because the other manager would never treat, it's like it's a concept that's so foreign to the other manager that they don't even see that that's the reason why people love that, the well loved manager. Because in their mind, maybe it's like, your employees or your whatever people you manage, like they're beneath you, they're only there to make you look good, they're there to be utilized and whatever. And when you treat people as disposable, like they know that they're not necessarily going to go as far as they will for someone that actually values them. But this, like the ool senses and that like low hanging fruit is like the person can't see that like all of the reasons why people love and respect the other manager as much as they do. And so it's almost one of those like if you could do it, you would be doing it. If they could do it, they would be. If whoever could do it, they would be doing it. They wouldn't be watching other people to see sort of like how it's done or whatever, right? And that's why I also love that it's like Trotter because it's not anything special that the person is doing. It's kind of just sort of who they are and how they show up in the day to day. Low hanging fruit. All right. So I guess that would be why they can just walk through portals that appear to be barred to someone else, right? Ooh. Oh goodness, that was the laziest fall ever. I don't blame the cards. It's Epana's wild daughter. Okay, she has a sister. 54. Bottom of the deck is the Singer of Connection. We have an owl in Epana's wild daughter. Look, there's the owl. Here's owl senses. Interesting. I didn't even clock that the owl is showing up again until I saw it. Am I taking it? Sure, why not? 64, 38, ooh, 58. This is 54, 57. What's that? 56, 55, 54. Hmm. Upon his wild daughter, inner shadows, nightmare, depression, madness, and growth. In the bleakest part of the night, Dorsha comes wearing her crown of fairy. I'll show you. I'm probably gonna butcher these names. I'm not gonna get caught up on it. In the bleakest part of the night, Dorsha comes wearing her crown of fairy stars. She kneels on the ancient owl, bearer of the hidden wisdom of the night, and facing into the past with a clear, unflinching gaze, she holds us. We are held immobile, inwardly focused by her comforting yet implacable light filled hands. She asks riddles that often seem impossible to answer at first, and yet she will not let us go until we find the solutions within ourselves. She is one of the great teachers of fairy, but her method of teaching makes Socrates' questions look like child's play. We must expect this of Dorsha because her lessons are about the shadow side of ourselves, the things we fear, our insecurities, self doubts, and denials. She is a practitioner of tough love therapy. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. She's all about the shadows and stuff, and then here's someone that can continue walking past that barred gate portal because they have the, shadow sense. Feels like it plays on that two of wands. Excuse me. Feels like it plays on the two of wands, four of swords that we saw yesterday, right? From the tarot apocalypse, where rather than trying to rush through or hurry through something, that person chose to sit and reflect and introspect and to work past that um, thing because she will not move and she will not let us move. Literally, she will hold us immobilized. And it was the barred gate. The Hands of Light is interesting. That play, it's obviously giving Keeper of Karnak, right? The light so bright that it just causes the shadow to go crazy. And even in the pre shuffle, I don't remember. I know I saw Treadle and Lagoo. I know I saw Treadle the title card. No, first Lagoo came out, and then it was the title card in Treadle, and it was an energy of like basically you could say like someone walking along the sand, but then the tide comes in and like washes away their footprints. Or I guess you could say someone walking along the beach, but on the water side, so you don't know where they're going. Um, but there were some other cards that came out. I don't remember why it was an impression of like I'm trying to like remember the cards instead of it was an impression of someone's shadow being tested. Not anyone in particular, just like it was stankness. It was Nide nutrients, stankness, scent tested, and then I saw night with the troll. And there was something before Nide because it bridged to Nide shadows, and then it moved from that stankness. Stankness was the test on whether or not someone could keep their shadow, not shadow in check, whether or not someone could make it through the night, basically, you could say. And it was like things, and it's so funny that Ool came out. It may have been Ool. Actually, I think it was Ool. It was Ool and Nide, which was Owl Sits in Shadows, because it was the owl that could see into the shadows. And then it was Stankness and then Night Troll. Like you've seen into the shadows, but can you keep your composure, basically? And it's either a shadow ooze or a light ooze. I guess in that case, it would be more like a light ooze, um, which may not make much sense. But in the Ool cycle, that I feel like we've been talking about it. The energy of it has been coming out. I don't know if I know I referred to it as the Ool cycle maybe like a few weeks ago with Fluorescent 12 Ool. Um, yeah. So I guess in this context, the will shield would protect someone from Dorsha upon his wild daughter. Because it's like she would have no purchase, right? It's like upon his wild daughter would come and someone would solve her riddle instantly because they've sort of been where she wants them to go. I don't know if that's how I would necessarily phrase it. It's so funny. Not funny, funny. Um, it's fine. It's funny. Okay, so my eye drifted over here. The answers to her riddles often come in a sudden burst of enlightenment, like the solution to a Zen koan. We may watch a leaf fall or catch a glimpse of the tiny silver of the new moon in the sky and suddenly be hit by the answer. That second sentence, we may watch a leaf fall, and literally bottom of the card at the bottom of the deck was leaf unfurl next to that giant portal in these spheres. I think this is also why it doesn't matter if um, if someone is like watching or observing, because again, like if they haven't explored, if they can't answer Dorsha's riddle, then that's where they'll get stuck. Right. Just like the manager that can't figure out why other people like the other one so much or why they respect the other one so much or whatever. It's almost like they would never see it. And I wonder if this is almost because I'm like, just because we are held somewhere spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or even physically doesn't mean that life stops. Like life continues to move forward. We could be stuck mentally, and the days keep coming. And so It's like to be held still in one regard, but to keep moving in another creates a sort of dissonance, can create a sort of dissonance. And it's funny because that almost makes me think of the tower out of time. Something was held while other things continued to progress. And so that's how that quantum entanglement was severed. That it's almost like the source of the interruption in that signal that caused something to sort of be lost or fade. Maybe the modulus of elasticity had broken. Right. If you stretch a rubber band past the point where it will rebound, then it'll be permanently deformed. And so it's like the longer we're held here in one way, but we keep moving forward in other ways, our life keeps moving forward, even though we're here, it's like eventually it doesn't snap back or it breaks. And now we have this disconnect between this thing and this thing. But I don't know, for some reason it almost reads as like a spiral or the source of spirals. Okay. So that's this. But that doesn't necessarily. Who was at the bottom of the deck again? The singer of connections. Is this Mike the Myomancer? These are so hard for me to read. Shout out to the people that could read this. Some of these are in reverse. I mean, I guess they do have reverse meanings in the book, so let's do it. Why not? All right, clean flipper, clean fall. And that was such a lazy fall, too. I was like, okay. I mean, it ain't gotta be dramatic. Oh, that made a lot of noise, but did not flipper fall. They try flip some in reverse since I'm doing reversals, apparently. This is what happened. And I'm like, if I keep shuffling, it's gonna ooh, it's gonna flip back over. But apparently I'm gonna lose like 10 other cards by trying to show you. It's interesting. Oh. So four of them came out face down. The two that came out face up, it's soulless. Soulless, and we just had sigil, fire, life. No, life force, sun, life force, maybe I forget. And then behind that is iris of the rainbows. So the sun, and then iris of the rainbows. So I'm like, okay. Also, rainbows, rainbow bridge, obviously, but rainbow bridge where we have this barred portal. Now, face down, we have five cards actually. One of them in reverse, the sage. The sage in reverse, which is 19. I mean, here it looks like 61, but upright, it's 19. And the major arcana, 19 is the card of the sun. So to have soulless upright, but the sage with the number of the sun in reverse is very interesting. look at this half blind sage. She's giving that one dude, but minus the eye patch, which is this energy. I mean, it popped up yesterday, so. And it's because I thought about that earlier. It just sort of crossed my mind again how it was like, um, what, King of Swords, title card, Ace of Swords, with Odin, the title card, and then that Ace of Swords, and he had sacrificed an eye. So it's like the eye that he sacrificed with the price that he paid to get whatever he would never be able to see. And so, again, with this giant portal, and the giant portal came out yesterday, so I shouldn't be surprised. Also, the spear trove came out yesterday. And so when my mind went there, I was like, okay, the sage in reverse, the piper upright, spirit dancer upright. Spirit dancer is number 36. 36 is Iga Shalmer. Oh, that gnome upright. And the master maker upright. Interesting. So the piper and the spirit dancer. The spirit dancer moves to the sound of the piper. And then we have Oh That Gnome and the master maker. I think Oh That Gnome is kind of a not great energy, but if it's the master maker, it would make sense. And it's like it's a master maker because it's almost like there's the piper that's playing the sound, and then there's the spirit dancer that's dancing to that sound. And then Oh That Gnome is like some kind of cacophonous noise that tries to come in and get the dancer to like move to a different beat. Maybe it inserts like notes where there aren't notes to change the tempo, right? Instead of, girl, I'm not doing it. I'm not a music person, so I'm not gonna try to take you through a rhythm and then introduce an extra note or an extra few notes sprinkled here and there to change the entire tempo. But this reminds me of in the Orisha Tarot, there's the kingdom of like men and the village of women, and the king who goes to the Orisha to try to get the women to get to his village, and the one that gets the women to that kingdom is like honest. She just like sings honestly about how she doesn't really know what she's doing or something else, and the women can relate to it and they follow her. And so, oh, that gnome and this noise would be like to make something seem like it isn't. And it's like, again, with the barred portal and with this, like, you can't move forward until you face the shadows, it makes sense. Because that sage would almost always be trying to compensate because sages are really good at that. Sometimes that's the problem with like thinkers is that, you can always try to think of a way out of or around something. But some things you just have to face. And as clever as you are, cleverness will not work here. So I guess it should be no surprise, again, that this would be the energy of a master maker because it cuts through the noise that causes that disparity to increase. And it's almost like even if something has gone beyond its modulus of elasticity, it still has like a extremely powerful natural recovering property or properties. But it's like though it has the property or the ability to rejuvenate is extremely powerful, but it's also very sensitive. So it's like if there's anything in the environment that is whatever, it will interfere with that. It's powerful in its ability to heal and to make things new or better than before, better than new. But again, it's extremely sensitive to various factors in its environment. Also, peep this, right? So, the Master Maker, after, oh, that gnome comes and tries to get the spirit dancer to move differently. And then, like, he's frustrated. He's like, ugh, I tried everything and nothing works. You see this? The Master Maker with his wand standing on the crown of whoever that is. I guess you could say standing on the third eye of this person sitting in that crown energy. And you see that wand? How do I do this? She's giving like this. Because you almost see like there's a wand there, right? It's that wand, the wand of the Master Maker. And then we see the face of Solus through this Master Maker, which is again why the Sage is in reverse. Cool. Don't even have to read the book. Uh, I mean, we don't have to make this like 3 hours. So clean flip. Ooh, that's it was like 15 cards. Clean flipper, clean fall. I wasn't ready. All right. The Four of Wands came out. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Swords. And you see the person lying in ambush. And this almost gives Word, Hammer, and Sigil. Obviously, because of the cross, the hatch pattern, or is it hash pattern? Hatch pattern on the tree, plus that from the sun. Is this that energy that can't make it past the portal? And then here is the rune for that's what is it? Movement, horse. Here's the movement. There's the barred path, or the one stuck at the whatever. And it in the Magic the Gathering booster pack. And it's funny because I'm using Bloomborough to like prop up my laptop to try to make this like level. Um, there was an energy of someone lying in ambush on a path down a road that like you would never take. Two cards came out: the Four of Wands and the King of Pentacles. The Four of Wands has the Rune of Beginnings. Is it Birth and Beginnings? The King of Pentacles is holding that wheel shield with this Rune of Man. See, there's a Rune of Beginnings. Masculine and feminine embracing. Whoa. And there he is with his wheel shield. Norse Compass, she's almost giving Iga Shalmer, right? And we saw what was with Man? I don't remember. But notice how it's like two interlocking portals. Right? It's like if you were to flip mirror this on this vertical, but instead of it being half a man, it's a whole man. Right? Half a man would be that you have to abandon your ego or do this or do that and blah blah blah. But then you do that and somehow still, you know. I mean, there are different paths for different people, and there are many ways to get to certain destinations. So, it works for some, I'm sure. Excuse me. So imagine, see, this is giving with this King of Pentacles energy, instead of like, um, maybe we're going back to that Emperor Empress energy from yesterday, right? Because it's giving like, there's somebody who's like really successful, some dude that's really successful who says, not sells, who says that he owes his success to his wife, right? And then maybe he uses something religious that's like, um, how like men should lead and women should be like supportive or whatever. But it's like that's the guy with this King of Pentacles energy with the wheel shield. He will find success because of how he honors his wife. Because he honors his wife, because he cares for, provides whatever his wife needs. She can do her thing and help him sort of grow or whatever. And her thing, it's almost like, again, with that extremely potent yet sensitive healing energy, as long as she's treated right and as long as she's good, he'll flourish because it's like her energy just naturally brings about the multiplication of things that snowballs into, accumulates into abundance. But if she's in an environment that's toxic, then her energy isn't going to do what it naturally does. And sometimes you'll get dudes who will, again, it's like they'll see that dynamic, but what they'll do is they'll try to go in and like take something, or they won't honor. They don't provide an environment where that energy naturally builds and builds until it becomes multiplicative, until it snowballs, accumulates into that of abundance. And so it's like they may never experience what is promised or guaranteed to them, and never know why. Maybe it's like it's this woman or it's that woman or blah 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 whatever, and it's because they've been sold on outcomes and not necessarily responsibilities type energy. But again, with upon his wild daughter, they would never see that the reason why they don't have anything, even though they're with a woman, is because they don't honor her. They don't respect her. They don't treat her right. And because they don't do that, her extremely potent yet sensitive energy can't do what it's supposed to do. Not what it's supposed to do. It can't do what it naturally does, because under duress, rather than it being like giving and nurturing and providing, it has to become like coarse and protective, and it's like stressed. Right? You put anything in an environment that is detrimental to it, and it's not going to be as healthy as it would be if you put it in an environment that's supportive. But again, like you have the Seven of Swords energy that's just out here watching and waiting and like trying to replicate. But again, there are certain things that it'll never see because it can't. It's almost like it's just so, in this metaphor, in this story, it's so naturally, enthusiastically, blatantly misogynistic that, number one, it's naturally toxic, inherently toxic and suppressive of that powerful, potent, fluid, abundant force, life-giving force. But with that entitlement, it it's it's like it would never see that. And under this Seven of Swords is the Ten of Swords. So, and it's just this sword graveyard. And it's interesting how there we see that same rune. That's the rune of man. But if you look at the King of Pentacles, it's actually different. There's an equal playing field with this King of Pentacles energy. They meet in the middle. But with that man rune, it's like at the top, right? The man is supposed to be the head and blah, blah, blah. But again, it's like if you don't do what you need to do, then it can't do what it needs to do. So obviously, there's going to be a breakdown and a failure. And again, while certain things are held immobile by upon his wild daughter, life continues to move on. So then it's like you get creative and try to find abundance in other ways. And it's like you just leave that energy to stagnate. And yeah, it's one way in which we can see it, right? Take it as it resonates. But also, Again, that's like an illustrative example. And it's so funny because like before I went live, I was like, bring back the days of the Oracle. You know what I mean? Bring back the oracles because I feel like even there's such a like you could call it masculine, hierophantic sort of attitude to things of even subtle and spiritual. It's like you could try to be or engage in high priestess energy, engage in oracle energy, but treat it like a hierophant. Like we want everything easily digestible and a short whatever. And like back in the day, that's not how it worked. You know, you had your oracle, you had your person that went into trance to commune with the divine or whatever, who would speak a bunch of nonsense that nobody understood except the people who were positioned there to like translate. It's like you don't go to the oracle for not like a get rich quick like, oh, here's 3 easy steps you can take and blah blah blah. Like you, oracle never operated like that. And it's almost like something's been lost because of it, because we need everything. And it's like there are certain things that just don't translate because it's almost like when you have the oracle and the interpreter, you receive the full message and then you sort of like make sense out of it, right? But when the oracle and the interpreter is the same person and they're of the mind to make something as simple and easily digestible and compact and like quick to deliver as possible, it's like that process is happening in the simultaneous ultra quick processing whatever of that process. It's like you lose a lot of the original message and you only get sort of the bits that you can strain out of it sometimes. Not saying that everything has to be like long overdrawn because you know also the sage will ramble and will pad and give just like stretch out the clock, you know, type energy. But it feels like it doesn't help us really to navigate past those blockages because it keeps us blind to the things that we would never see. And we've gotten so good at finding alternative pathways that it's like if you hit a certain dead end, you just keep going until you find another one, until you find another path that might also dead end. Maybe I'll look into Iris of the Rainbows. Maybe not. Excuse me. I think the like humanizing factor here is that Dorsha looks into the past. She keeps us immobilized, looking into the past, almost hinting that like there's something back there that's the reason why we can't see whatever to solve the riddle in the present to move forward into a future that's not blocked, barred, or marred by anything really. But that also takes me back to that whole like we have to be at a place where we can sort of face something and then beyond that to actually venture into the past to see things clearly to be able to solve that riddle to move forward into the future. but it's hard. If it weren't hard, then this energy wouldn't be like it wouldn't require our senses and all this other stuff. It wouldn't be a riddle if it weren't hard. Right. And again, with the sage, it's like we can get really creative at masking and covering and um, soothing, coping. We can get really great at coping with the past, and coping is amazing for as long as we need to cope. But hopefully, at some point, we can get to a place where we can get beyond coping and into a kind of healing that it's like that where coping isn't required, right? I feel like it's one thing to be like, oh, like my joint is achy, so that means it's gonna storm. That's one thing, and it's another to like move to an area where it never rains and to shutter and shelter and do all this other stuff. Meaning, the goal and the aim isn't necessarily to be perfect, but it's to no longer be held back by that thing that could be the very reason why we can't move forward. And as long as there's another pill to take or method to try, like just like we do like diet fads and pills and stuff, it's like we do the same in every arena and aspect of our lives, including like spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Sometimes you just gotta eat right and go to the gym. Sometimes there are, you know, medical reasons why you may need to do more than just eat right and go to the gym. And there are medicines for those medical reasons, but certain things can't be shortcutted. And at the end of the day, it just kind of sort of is what it is, you know? I feel like you can be empathic and you can be caring and you can be a lot of stuff. You can be understanding as to like why someone or why we ourselves would be bound by or to certain things, but at the end of the day, if that's hurting us more than it's helping us, then it's going to continue to hurt us. And if we want something different or something more, then scheming and saging isn't going to get us, it's not the answer. The answer isn't more control and less freedom. It's like the solution was already given, but like we didn't hear that part. I guess some of us don't hear that part. Again, I don't know. It's fine. Cool. 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 Unity. Unity is at the bottom of the deck. The is it? It's not the gatekeeper of connection. The something of connection was at the bottom before. Or no, it was number three. That was the card that had flipped over. And I was like, if I keep shuffling, it's gonna flip back over, and then all of these cards fell out. It was number three because I remember being like, "Oh, three. That's the same number as that thing up there, the giant portal thorn." Okay, zero, one, two, three. The guardian at the gate. Passages to new life, openings, and gatekeeping. Literally giant portal. And then we have unity with this Four of Wands. This is why it works for the King of Pentacles. Not that toxic. But I guess that's what happens when you get a bunch of entitlement and what is owed to whoever. Cool. All right. Should I use you? Should I read the Guardian of the Gate? Literally unity. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna read it. Uh, the principal task of the Guardian at the Gate is to facilitate the passage from one realm to another and to block the passage of that which is not ready to pass. Cool. These realms may be Earth, Fairy, the cosmos of the singers, or Unity. They can also be considered as levels of reality or states of consciousness. In one state of consciousness, we are in the ordinary world. In another, we are in Fairy or Unity. Our bodies don't move, but our minds do. The guardian of the gate of unity facilitates the passage of the song into the hearts of the singers and aids the passages of humans and fairies into unity to be filled by that song when it is their time. So not only does that connect us to the unity here, but it also connects us to the song that the piper is playing, that the spirit dancer is dancing to, that, oh, that gnome is trying to sort of, again, add extra notes or do whatever to make it something that it isn't. And again, as she cuts out, cuts the noise and continues to dance to that song, she arrives at this space of mastery that puts her in contact. I mean, soulless unity. There you go. Cool. Sage in reverse. Am I going to read the reverse sage? No. Um, there's an energy of filters, like a low pass filter, things that reduce noise, right? But I feel like to go down that path is to stray closer to the sage of trying to like figure it out or outsmart or find a way to do whatever. Oh, well, if, oh, that gnome introduces noise, then all you have to do is, incorporate a filter to reduce that noise. And then even if you don't whatever, you can still get the song that the piper is playing. And it's like, sure. Also, though, I liked how it mentioned movement in different, like you move in the mundane and you move in the realm of fairy. And what I like about that is it plays into that dissonance that Dorsha, upon his wild daughter, can create. If we're moving in one realm or even multiple realms, but she keeps us stuck in another. And maybe that's the thing with the sage. The sage can help us move or to keep moving forward in one way or another, but it cannot move us past what this energy is holding us at. Cool. All right. Now I am satisfied. I forgot all about that. How did I forget the Guardian at the gate? It's also not lost on me that we had that like unattended crossroads energy, but then there's this Guardian at the gate of unity. I'm not going to go into it, but it's not lost on me that that is sort of here. Oh, it's I don't know. I think sometimes fairies of the fairies of the future. What? And just like how upon his wild daughter was looking towards the past, all these fairies are looking into the future. Love that energy. With unity still at the bottom. Um, oh, upon his wild daughter is still on the table. Oof. I would have to get another final card. Cool. I don't know. I feel like every now and then I go through these cycles of like, I want to make like the video shorter, but then sometimes I'm like, why? You know what I mean? To be more easily like, no one is going to miss anything that is for them, right? And there are plenty of people. I'm not going to say I'm not capable of being concise because that's not true. But if given the freedom, I do like to, just like not pad stuff. I like to like wax a little poetic. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't have to rush to whatever. And I think there's so much, especially as someone whose brain operates in metaphor. It's just, I don't know, there's a depth to that richness. And sometimes there are things that are lost um, to constrictions and constraint. Again, not saying nothing about nobody, but it's like that get rich quick mentality has permeated so many things, right? It's the diet pills and diet fads. It's get rich quick. It's quick and easy solutions. It's everything's. It's technological convenience. Like we've been losing a lot of stuff to convenience for a very, very, very long time. Some of the things that we've lost, are good. Like there are some sicknesses and diseases that don't take people like they used to. Stuff like that can stay lost, but you know, I don't know, balance to many things. Four of Pentacles. Hmm. Ooh, okay, well, there's our final card. Not as lazy as upon his wild daughter. I picked it up in reverse, and it's the King of Cups. Why the King of Cups in reverse? Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Wands. I kind of love the Seven of Wands. Oh. We've been seeing the energy of the Seven of Wands a lot. Nothing says being in a position of advantage like this Seven of Wands does. Standing at the top of this whatever outlook, calling the storms and about to strike them all down with lightning. He's like, oh my gosh. Kind of. And look at that room. That's the same room that we saw. Oh. That's the same room that we saw in the Four Pinnacles. I'm pretty sure because that is Windhorn. And Windhorn was at the bottom of the deck behind something. It might still be here. No, not anymore. Maybe. Hello. It's literally at the top of the deck. Yeah, it is. It's the same. See on her back, and then up there. This it's we see masculine and feminine, both with that same robe. We see it on her back, and it's above his head, right? And maybe it plays into that healthy emperor empress dynamic where the ankh that the emperor holds is bestowed upon him by the empress. And it's not a power that can be taken, it has to be freely given. It's not something that can be seized. It's like if you try to seize it, it'll like lock up. And then it's like, no. But it's a power that she's given him. Now, if you want to look at masculine, feminine as not man and woman, but a different kind of dynamic, then sure. Right? You could say here, feminine is the part that is connected to the all, and masculine is the part of action. If feminine is connection and masculine is action, then there's something about like that aligned masculine energy being a clear conduit for certain forces to flow through. And anything that we would low hanging fruit attribute to ego is a blockage in those channels. And so you don't get what you would otherwise get. And again, there's an amount of like respect and a whole bunch of other stuff that the masculine has to do for the feminine's energy to naturally do what it naturally does. And control is not necessarily gonna help things flow, if you know what I mean. But again, is it still there? No. Ooh, the blank card is there now. Um, we had unity. We've seen these two. Well, we've seen masculine and feminine energies in that Four of Wands. I think so. This the King of Cups is in reverse. Maybe this is Oh That Gnome. How Oh That Gnome introduces resistance. It adds an extra beat or it does something weird and funky. Oh That Gnome is like it can't be outsmarted. The Sage was in reverse. It's not about how tapped in or tuned in or clever somebody is to a certain degree, especially in certain arenas. Because more, there are omniscient forces that no amount of intellect can overcome or compete against. And if it's those forces behind the blockages of certain things, I guess good luck. I don't know. It was in reverse because this rune is different than this rune. And it's this extra line. This extra line is giving like that, oh, that gnome interference, or that extra line is like control, or it disrupts the balance. So you don't get this command of certain energies and natural forces, maybe in attempting to. It's like certain things, there could be a blowback, a rebound. It can rebound. Right. I've been watching Full Metal Alchemist, so sometimes the alchemy rebounds. And when the alchemy rebounds, because whatever, it is not great, especially for the person doing whatever. And it's funny because, so under that seven pinnacle or seven of wands, we had the title card, right? Under the title card is the two of wands. Because I'm looking at this rune and I'm like, what is that rune? It's right there. So this could be the sage saying, like, oh, I could substitute this rune in for whatever in this bind rune, and that should be close enough to give me control or command of whatever natural force. And it's like, yeah, no. See? And he's like pointing to it. He's like, oh, I'll use this one. I mean, not necessarily pointing. Is that a key in his hand? Maybe. See, there it is, and there it is. But then he'll look at this seven of wands energy and be like, well, like, what am I doing different? Like, I know it's not the same rune, but you know, if I bound these together, it should be blah 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 blah. We'll never see the things that it's blind to, because it's not about control. It's not about cleverness. It's not about manipulation. It's not about gaslighting. It's like you can't trying to it's no. Cool. Here it is. I was like, where did the book go? I was looking to see if they have something in here. The King of Horns is a trustworthy ruler. They rule with a balanced hand and get entrusted with many secrets. A life of battle and challenge has prepared them for a good rule. They take their new station in stride. The hot headedness of their youth has been burned off by years of battle and is now tempered with the clothes of finery. But again, this king was in reverse. So, ruler that's not trustworthy, an unbalanced hand that is entrusted with nothing, but entitled to everything. Or feels entitled to everything, but they're entrusted with nothing. There's no balance. There's no good rule. Their years of battle hasn't tempered anything in them. Didn't learn, haven't learned. And it can be hard when you know that your birthright is for more than what you have or more than what you've experienced. And then you see, I guess, it ain't, I don't know. Cool. All right. Final Lafruma. Lafruma. Final Lafruma. Rasa and Was. Rasa was at like the bottom of the deck when I first shuffled. This is my lunar eclipse rune. Alchemize. Ooh. Ganunga Gap. And Rasa came right back. That sap is not leaving the bottom of the deck. Oh, now it's gone. It was sticky. All right. Final Lafruma rune. Cool. One room fell out face down. Bottom of the deck is Leaf. Look, Leaf is back. Leaf unfurl. Okay. And the room that came out is Night. Turn dark, inner troll. Our inner trolls pose challenges, blocking our bridges out of the doldrums. And see, again, like this is like that sun rune, but there's this night noise sort of introduced. I don't know. I mean, is there anything more to read? Not really. Night turned dark, inner troll. Interestingly enough, though, this is the only rune that comes to my awareness that has three uh, descriptors: night, turn dark, and inner troll. Usually they have two, right? Like leaf unfurl, or oh look, there it is, sun life force. See, there's your sun life force, and there's sun life force with interruption. I just randomly cut the deck. And then Hod, Hooded, and Unseeing is under the Sun Life Force. See those extra lines? Cool. Yeah, usually there's like two. This one has three. Is it significant? I don't know, but I noticed it. I mean, especially for everything that this reading was, we see the noise of Oh That Gnome here. We're just like, it's giving the sage. I had it and then I lost it. Oh, it's because it's three. There are three lines to try to get to the truth of something. Just like that sage in reverse tries to be really clever in introducing something to help artificially eliminate the noise of that gnome so that it can discern the beat to like move to. And it's interesting that we had sun with hooded, the hooded sun, and you would think the hooded sun is the same as night, but apparently it's not. But again, it's like it's one of those. The sage is extremely clever and wise, knowledgeable, learned, probably the most learned. All right, final fairy. Uh, Look, there's Iris of the Rainbow again. Not the cut. Iris of the Rainbows. Iris of the Rainbows. Oh, I was like, is that a card back? It was not. It's the fairies of the back of the cards. There we go. I'm like, can I give you the shuffle, please? Oh, okay. I mean, I guess technically it was a flip. The Soul Shrinkers? The Soul Shrinker? Iris of the Rainbow is still at the bottom of the deck. The Green Woman is in reverse. The Soul Shrinker with Iris of the Rainbow. Who is you? Who you is? Who you be? Oh, this is 55. Upon his wild daughter was 54, wasn't it? 48. 54. Yep. Upon his wild daughter was 54. Soul Shrinker. Cruelty, malice, gossip, curses, destruction, and blessing. The distasteful task of the soul shrinker is to observe what we say to and about others. Okay, let me do that again. The distasteful task of the soul shrinker is to observe what we say to and about others, especially the mean, nasty, and unnecessarily critical things. By observing our behavior this way, he reflects it back to us, making us more aware of it. This is a bodhisattva type of job, and it requires great compassion, understanding, and forgiveness if the soul shrinker himself is not to be dragged down to our level. If we are just inwardly spluttering, looking for words, he may even suggest to us words that express our feelings and energy. Then it is our choice, our test, whether or not we say them. So it said this is a bodhisattva, a spiritual being devoted to helping to bring about the enlightenment of all type of job. There are two important things about malicious gossip: unnecessary criticism, verbal cruelty, sarcasm, and scoring off of others. One is that it demeans the speaker, makes him less, makes his aura darker, and encourages the behavior as a habit, continually eroding the brightness and potential goodness of the speaker. The other important thing is that this is a way that we actually curse others. Uh, Every wicked thing a human says makes the soul shrinker more ugly. Every time a human learns this lesson, the soul shrinker becomes a bit less ugly. As you can see, humanity as a whole has a lot of work to do on this. I don't know if I necessarily like ugly because that's funny. I was watching Power Rangers. It was on TV, and somebody was like, oh, don't you recognize me? And the Power Ranger said something. And then I was like, if this were another show, then the Power Ranger would have been like, oh, who could ever forget a mug that ugly or something like that? Because I feel like I've heard it. What I don't necessarily like about ugly here is ugly is like subjective, right? Every time a human learns this lesson, the soul shrinker becomes a bit less ugly. And every wicked thing a human says makes the soul shrinker more ugly. And because like ugly is subjective from person to person, I'm not saying like it's not like absolute enough. Do you know what I mean? One of the things usually involved here is taking responsibility for ourselves and our own feelings rather than blaming others for the way we are. Another part of this process is to learn to be compassionate toward ourselves. If we can do that, it is much easier not to be horrible to and about others. This doesn't mean we're supposed to be all sweetness and light all the time. Constructive criticism given compassionately is a part of being real, and reality is a good thing to be in touch with. I am low key like, okay, where's the blessing though? You know what I mean? If we choose not to accept it, then all of the energy boomerangs back to the sender, who then gets a well deserved double dose of it. See, I don't know. It's fine. I never did read Iris. 32, Iris of the Rainbow. 31, 32. Hope, promise for the future. This whole time, Iris was promised for the future with the unbarred path. Oh my gosh. Makes sense. Maybe that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Beneath the rainbow fairy, the amphibious creatures of a wet earth crouch. The fairy frog maiden and the frog peer out from their shelter at the storm racked world, while the shadowed sun is dimly seen above Iris's head. That shadowed sun. See, I wasn't going to read anymore. That shadowed sun, and then we had the hooded sun that was different than night. In her hand, the light of heaven's bow looks a fragile thing, yet it is the light of hope, the promise of healing and joy to come, and that is one of the most powerful things there is. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. I mean, I guess it is interesting if you were to look at this. Let me stop. There's something about the subjectivity of that soul shrinker that's like kind of bothering me. I mean, I guess it is what it is. Excuse me. Should I get a. Nah. It's number 55. 55 is a 10. 10 is a 1. A 1 with a 0. Uh, should I try to find what exactly about the soul shrinker is bothering me? I don't know. I feel like now I'm just like. You know what I mean? Maybe I will. Maybe that's the thing about the Fae and fairies too, a little bit. What? Excuse me. Maybe it's this thing about cursing others. Maybe the subjectiveness of it kind of sort of plays into that whole, like the last paragraph. This doesn't mean that we are supposed to be all sweetness and light all the time. Constructive criticism given compassionately is a part of being real, and reality is a good thing to be in touch with. Because sometimes, yes, obviously, when it comes to what's the other kind of criticism it mentioned? Unnecessary criticism. Is that what it said? Are unnecessarily critical things. Like, I feel like that's almost as subjective as the ugliness of something could be. And there's a little bit of like it mentions the burden on the speaker of such things, but like you could give someone criticism compassionately that you think of as constructive, but they would see it as unnecessary and cruel. You know what I mean? And then, too, it's like there could be constructive criticism that you could give someone, but you don't because you would think that it's being cruel. But maybe it's one of those things where it's like it would be crueler to not say anything because if um, it's fine because like let's say it's for something important, right? And you don't want to be cruel and you don't want to do whatever, but because you didn't speak up, like something undesirable happens, and then the person goes to you and they're like, like maybe they're like, oh yeah, like I took it, but like they didn't like it because of this or that, and then you're like, oh yeah, like I thought that would have been the case, and then like, well, why didn't you say anything? Like you know how important this is to me. Like why didn't you tell me? If you would have said something, I could have fixed it, and that would have went a lot different. And then you're like, well, I didn't want to be cruel, I didn't want to be mean, I knew how much it meant to you. See, it's all this just I don't know. It feels like with the certain view of the Fae, it feels like an area where a fairy would thrive, but not necessarily because of whatever. Like I feel like it's almost I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, there are cases and points where there is criticism that is given with cruel intentions, right? I'm not going to say that there are some things that are like objectively ugly. I'm not going to say there aren't things that are objectively ugly. Um, I don't know. I don't know why I'm kind of getting hung up on that because it feels almost like noise. Maybe like obviously again, there's truth to it, but so now I'm thinking of the amphibians that were in Iris of the rainbows and how like there was the amphibology. Was it amphibology? Amphibole, hyperbole, amphibole. There was the amphibole right before, and that's a very amphibolous energy. But amphibian just sort of meaning like both. So it's almost like one of those like wild true. It's not necessarily as helpful as you might think it is, and depending on the context in which it comes up, it's almost like a truth that could be said like a lie, but it's not untrue, right? Like in that example, right? Let's say you have somebody, you have a group of, there's like three friends. There's one person who's like doing their dream thing, and then they have two friends. One of their friends is a secret hater, low hanging fruit. One of their friends is a secret hater, right? And another of the friends is like an actual supporter that wants them to be their best and to put their best out there, right? So the friend who's chasing their dreams goes to the other two friends and they're like, hey, like, I'm about to go up for this thing. Would you mind like looking at this and giving me some feedback? And both people are like, sure. And then you all convene together, right? The supportive friend calls out, like, has fair, valid criticisms of the thing, of like things that you can like tweak or fix, or like small edits that you can make to make it look more polished, right? Because sometimes when you're the person doing something, there are things that you overlook because in your mind, you know what it's supposed to read like, sound like, look like. And so you just kind of sort of project what you know it's supposed to be, and you don't read that, hey, like, there's this word here twice, or you didn't do whatever. And then it's like the secret hater friend is like, oh, well, like, criticisms of something when someone is like working so hard on something that like that can be taken to be like kind of whatever and blah 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 whatever. And it's like what they're saying about criticism is true, but it's like they clock the same things and they're banking on whatever that person is going for, like those being the reasons why it falls apart. Because again, they're the secret hater, so they could say something that's not true, or they can say something that is true, but they bring about the truth in a way that's not actually constructive or beneficial. And that scenario, case and situation, it is objectively, because we are creating the metaphor, it is objectively better for the person to get that constructive criticism, because since it's from a trusted friend, they won't take it personally and it'll help them to achieve the thing that they're going for. But to notice something and to not say something, knowing how it can keep something from progressing forward or keep them from what they want, that is cruelty. It's more cruel to not say anything. And you could say it's an additional cruelty to discourage others from saying anything because they're the secret hater. And again, they say it in a way that's meant to make the person feel better or whatever. But, anyway, it's kind of sort of that, like with all this subjectivity and like, yeah, it's true, but, right, I don't know. Anyway, I hope y'all have a basic whatever you see this. Excuse me. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and what you find. I think I'm pretty much caught up. Honestly, I wanted to look before and after the Emperor and the Runic Tarot. Excuse me, because we kind of did the Frigg thing. We've gotten enough of the Odin thing, but we haven't. Maybe instead of Thor, I'll look at Tyr. And it's funny because I saw the Tyr rune like twice when I was doing the pre shuffle. And I saw it on the back of one of the cards in the um, Runic Tarot. And for maybe obvious reasons, it's better to look for Tyr than it is to look for Thor. So Woden, Tyr, Frigg. Like what the Frigg? Woden, Thor, Frigg. I guess they both kind of work. We're looking for Tyr. And I think after that, I don't know, part of me just wants to like crack open a deck and let whatever come out come out. Part of me, I don't know. I think there's something in me that like I love learning and exploring. And once it seems like I've already like learned something, I get kind of bored. But I don't know, maybe there's a benefit to continuing to explore this topic. I can see there being benefits. I don't know. Cool. All right. I'll catch y'all the next time I catch y'all.